Just fine.
Am I live?
You look around, see.
I'm Sherry. You ready? Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the Russell County Board of Supervisors reconvened meeting on May the 22nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Russell County Board of Supervisors meeting room. I'd like to first start off with a call of order and roll call. Tim Lovelace.
Here.
Carl Ray.
Here.
David Eaton.
Here.
Steve Breeding.
Here.
Rebecca Dye.
Here.
Horace Christian.
Present.
And Lou Ann Wallace.
Here.
Ma'am, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. At this time, I'll ask everyone to please rise for the invocation.
Let us pray. Father God, Lord, we love you, we thank you, and we praise you today, Father. Father, forgive us for where we fail you each and every day. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of our local government. Help us be more like you. In your name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask that we approve the agenda, and I do have an amendment. So before we do that, in new business, under number 3, I would like to add a committee appointment, please. Do I need to say what the committee appointment is for you guys? Okay, this is an ad hoc committee that will just work on a feasibility study. It will go away when the committee makes some decisions and gets the study underway. Good enough? Okay, then I'll ask that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, everybody. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, we will open up the floor for public hearing. The first thing we're going to look at is the Russell County Off-Road Recreational Vehicle Ordinance, or ATV. Anybody want to comment on this? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing for the Russell County Off-Road Recreational Vehicle Ordinance. And do you want to dispense with that now or keep going? It's not on here to relook at.
No, that's for consideration.
Has everybody looked at the Russell County proposed ordinance for recreational vehicles?
You need a motion?
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll
that we
make that
approve it
motion
as
that we
presented.
We accept it, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, several. Thank you. Any discussion from the board?
Discussion. The only thing that I see with it is number 9 is all persons operating any off-road vehicle shall be a licensed driver or shall be 13 years of age. Well, a good point is to be age 16, and I do know that the some of the other trails that I have ridden on is the parent, if you're not 18, you have to sign a statement of liability because they are a minor. So that's the only thing that I see that we might need to come back and readdress. And it was also, Steve pointed out to me that if you're on a state road, you need to be at least 16 to have a driver's license. So the only thing is maybe to scratch the age 13, but other than that, I think this is good. Just thought.
That is a good point, Miss Dye. I think we do need to make that age 16. I'll amend my motion to accept it and change the age to 16.
Okay, I have a motion to amend it. Mr. Lester, you got any more questions? Let me get a
No.
second on that before we move on.
Second.
All right. Now we'll discuss that further.
Also, don't these vehicles have to have insurance on them if you ride them on the road?
They do, and that covenant is in there. Yes, that covenant
Well,
is in there.
it says shall be a licensed driver or 16 years old. You can be 16 and still not have a license.
That is correct.
I'd say and probably you needs to be a licensed driver and at least 16 years old.
Okay. That's a good point. All persons operating any off-road vehicle shall be a licensed driver and shall be 16 years of age or older and accompanied. Okay.
And accompanied by a license.
Yep. Yes, you can. There you go. All right, I made the correction. Y'all good with that?
We have already an amended motion. Do we need to do another amended motion? Or just finish? Let's finish the discussion here before we do anything else with this ordinance. Okay, so we have amended this ordinance to include the licensed driver, and you must be at least 16 with a learner's permit. Or
now that makes the rest of that not read.
Right.
that has to. Rebecca asked for that to be stricken.
Shall
be
a
Okay,
licensed
that
driver
works.
and shall be
Period.
16 years of age or older.
That works, yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
I'm just making reference to the Hatfield-McCoy trails in West Virginia, because I know we ride there quite frequently, and that is on when you get your license and when you sign that waiver of insurance and liability, and you put that little sticker on your helmet, that those are components that the state of West Virginia has.
Well, let me ask you,
But it's-
Alonzo, will VDOT require insurance to be on? They'll require insurance.
Yes, it is, and that
But
stipulation's in here.
that'll
too.
be up to them, right?
It's in the ordinance.
It's in the ordinance, okay.
Yes, that's a requirement by VDOT. So right now,
That's on number 12, 11 and 12.
number
Yeah.
12. Or they sign a waiver of liability on the permit of application form. So that will be through Spearhead. So right now, stipulation number 9, all persons operating any off-road vehicle shall be a licensed driver and shall be a licensed driver and, yeah. And be, that's it, and be 16 years of age or older, or accompanied by, is that how y'all want to, or accompanied by a licensed driver is either occupying the same vehicle or occupying another vehicle with prudent distance.
Say or, then you could be 16 and unlicensed. Well, you're gonna have to be licensed.
I would just say, shall be a licensed driver.
Licensed driver.
Yeah, because you have to be 16.
Yeah.
Just take, okay, that makes more sense. That's straight to the point. You must be a licensed driver.
And then also on your ATVs, your side-by-sides, it all has the sticker that says not operated by anyone under age 16. That's the Yamaha, Suzuki, any of your machines. They also have that sticker on it covering liability.
And so one of the things that the board is going to have to do on this ordinance, I'm going to have to publish it because we need to do a public notice with the stipulations of these 17 restrictions. that the general public will be aware of it, because you can't just go out anywhere and ride an ATV after this ordinance is approved. It's got to be a designated trail with designated signage, VDOT approved land use, to make sure that only in those areas under these 17 required VDOT regulations or county regulations, that is the area of operations. So this gives an opportunity for either the trails to be put in the county sections or in town sections, and gives them the flexibility to be able to expand this at will. Now, the ordinance that y'all have approved it doesn't get route specific and termini and trailhead specific, because if you did that, as you did add one or had to take away one, which we was discussing earlier, you would be in here revising this ordinance. So the mechanism that is in place is with Spearhead Trails, signage and overage, along with VDOT land use, that you'll have an application on file for it, and you can change this at will if you change the trailhead within that riding area or recreational area. So this makes it as simple as can be. It's not restrictive. It doesn't have a lot of covenants, but it gives the board some assurance that there's not a 12-year-old or 13-year-old running up and down the road on an ATV. So, any more questions?
Number two, for a distance of more than 5 miles on any highway with a posted speed limit of no more than 35 miles an hour.
Yes, that is a state requirement.
Okay.
Yes.
It's
And
in the code.
also with that, and Ms. Dime can tag on to this from some of the West Virginia folks, but for Virginia, you cannot be on primary roads at all, period, because they are 55 miles an hour. So you can only be on a road that is 35 miles an hour or less. And I will say this for your all's information and for public consumption: even though the town of St. Paul has approved these guidelines for the town of St. Paul, period. They don't have a trail, they have a trailhead in the county, but they have the right to ride to that trailhead, which is in 5 miles. But they cannot cross the 4-lane on 58. They have to stop at the Food City and the Hardee's. They cannot go across to McDonald's. Now, there's signage that says you can't, and they can get a ticket. I have seen ATVs at McDonald's. But by law, they're trespassing over on VDOT stuff that says no, no. So there's a lot of stuff that people have to learn how to deal with this. So it's been difficult at times, I will tell you.
I have a question. What about these farmers? Now, where I live, there's a couple of farmers I do ride 4-wheelers from one section of the farm to the other, and they do get out on the road that we travel, state maintained. Is that going to be prohibited?
That's not a primary road of 55 miles an hour. Those are back roads, secondary
Even though it's
roads.
state maintained?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
It doesn't fall under,
No, it does not. No, it's for agriculture. This is for recreational only, ATVs.
Cause I know if it did, we'd be starting up a can of worms that may get pretty tight.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And as far as farm use, that's up to them and the regulations that within VDOT and state. But this one is recreational. Remember, the signage will be there wherever you put the trailhead, and you'll have the flexibility of the 5-mile radius to be able to hit the trailheads, because the town of Honaker has conveyed, their interest in these trailheads, and they may have to switch a trailhead. As long as they're within that 5-mile radius and signage, then they can change that access.
So the signage will be placed appropriately to handle the 5-mile.
Yes, it is. And one of the things coming from VDOT, one of the things that the local residency is willing to do is, Virginia signage is hard to get. They only got one sign crew in all Bristol districts. So what they're willing to do is me work under the contractor, the VDOT contractor on the signage, and be able to help with these signages. So I can order the signage for these trailheads as you designated through the land use to be able to implement these.
Ms. Wallace, do you need a motion?
I do need another I don't even know where we are. We may need to dispense with the other motion.
I think it would be easiest to just withdraw the other motions and then make a motion.
Thank
for
you.
what you
Yes.
want.
I'll
Oh.
make a motion to withdraw that motion.
I withdraw the second.
Okay, we're back to square one.
No.
Let's go at this again.
I'll make a motion to accept with the language that's currently in the motion that we've set forth.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept the amended ordinance that we have described here, which only dealt with number 9, really,
That is
wasn't it?
correct. And
All right.
I've made those changes to all persons operating any off-road vehicle shall be a licensed driver, period.
Okay, here we go. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We've got an ATV ordinance. Thank you very much.
Right now, and as a question from the audience, number 7, all persons operating or riding any off-road vehicle shall wear eye protection of any type approved by the Superintendent of Virginia State Police for use by motorcycle operators. That is a state requirement. It is in there. Yes, these are the state stipulations. It's our eye protection.
But that's also in the spearhead. You have to wear helmets, approved helmets. So
In
those big
eyewear.
ones with the,
It's
yes, the eye protection, yes. But you can wear that big one that slides down all a full face. Most people that come to us say they like the smaller helmets with the eye goggles.
I've never seen none of them with goggles.
Or the face mask.
I've seen all kinds on the trail, but nobody has goggles.
So they're in violation.
But we're enclosed.
All right. Moving on to the next public hearing is the fiscal year of 2023-24 countywide budget. Where do we start? Any questions? Anybody in the audience? Do we have a sign-up sheet? Nobody?
There's no one on the sign-up sheet, ma'am.
Okay, we don't have a sign-up sheet, but I see a hand go up in the audience. Did I sign for the wrong thing?
Yeah. It's not the budget.
Okay. Budget comments. May I make a budget question? Is it a hearing? You can make a budget comment. Yes, ma'am.
I am here wearing my Rotary hat as representing the Russell County Rotary Club and the Heart of Appalachia Community Orchestra that meets and performs primarily here in Lebanon. They have partnered to do a musical park, and we've gotten permission from the town of Lebanon and the town of Honaker to put an instrument in the parks. It's the kind of musical instruments that you've probably seen at Disney World or Dollywood. They are outdoor musical instruments. They are not loud enough to disturb the neighbors, but they are, honest to gosh, musical instruments. They are tuned. So, you play them, you're going to get pitches. It's not just banging on pipes or something. And our hope is to have one in at least 3 areas of the county, because we had a town in Honaker in Lebanon. We went ahead and went with them. We do want to place one in Castlewood, but we just thought we'd wait until we got those rolling to sort of look for a site. Somebody has mentioned, well, what about Cleveland? I'm like, we're not going to say that's not possible. We just need to raise the money. We did ask you for some money, and that is because there are arts grants from the State Arts Council that will basically match any money that is given by a local government. So, And if you give us money, we can use that as a match to apply for that grant. But it is our hope to get those rolling. We'll be asking for a Rotary District grant also, and we do have some money already in the bank for that. And we're selling bricks. So if you want to do a commemorative brick, even though we don't know where we're going to put one in Castlewood, the first brick I bought was for my late sister-in-law who played euphonium. So, it's got her name and her class year, CHS and euphonium. That was her instrument. So you can do that. That's a great way. They'll be there, as far as we know, forever to commemorate somebody in the community or celebrate someone. So thank you.
Thank you. What's your gap? What's your gap funding? Tell me how much.
The instruments are expensive. They're about $2,000 a piece, and right now we've got less than $2,500 in the bank. But we had somebody say, "I like this project. I will give you, $1,000 or $2,000." So we have that as a sort of jumping off point. But we need to sell a lot of bricks. We need to sell 100 bricks. And that's partly how we're going to pave it, so that except for the mortaring and the prep work, that cost is absorbed. So the town can lay it to make sure they're happy that it goes down properly, but that's not a cost for them if the brick is paid. $50 a brick, $100 for a time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing for the countywide budget for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, under the new business, of course, is the workshop part. This is, of course, we've had meetings on the budget concerning where we're at. And of course, everyone knows the state of Virginia has still not approved the budget. And we're not going down that rabbit hole like we did last year. It's wait on them. So we've got enough numbers of what we can generate within the county on our own tax revenue and what we have got from the federal and some of the state agencies that know they're not going to get any additional funding. So as we go through it and give you an update from the last meeting to now, to give you all a snapshot of what we're doing. Of course, I released this today. This is, we have to do this by law, advertisement to show our little synopsis of what we're doing. And on Facebook, I got a comment right real quick before I could get in here and explain why my numbers have changed, but I will go through it with them. As you can see up on the screen, this is FY23 and FY24. And some of the numbers percentiles look fairly, large. But let's go through these reasonings. Of course, the first one is of course, the general government administration. It went up 12.8%. Now, that sounds like a lot. Indeed, it's a lot. But one of the things you got to remember is we're going through the reassessment. The assessor's office files under this right here. So this will be for the assessor's contractor, which can run from $150,000 to $180,000. So that is one of the reasons for the increase in that. We have to do that by law. So that's a cost we have to incur. We don't like it, but we have to do it. Every county in the state of Virginia has to. Second one, as you can see, through the judicial was 5%, public safety 2.3. Okay, the next one was 13.8. Again, solid waste, our trash contract. So that's your increase in your trash component. So other than that, general services stayed at 2.3, health and welfare 1.9. Education was level funding for the schools and the community colleges. The parks and recreation is 4.2% increase. Community development went up 10.6%. That sounds like a lot, but it's only Shiloh's position, tourism positions, and what little bit was. That's what we increased on that. So Non-departmental was 0.6%, and then the cap outlay and the transfers, that went from up 19.5. That component is part of the courthouse. There are what we call transfer charges that will be charged to the loan, but is not paid by county taxpayers' dollars. So, but I had to put it in there because it does come through our coffers, and I got to move it in and move it out, as the treasurer will tell you. So overall, the good point is, of all the inflation, no taxes being raised, 4.1%. Now, this budget does include a 7% increase. Now, the state of Virginia has not come up with a definitive negotiation between the House and Senate yet. We have talked to the local legislators, and it goes everything from like this, 5, 6, or 7. So they do not, even the ones that sat on the budget committee that are here regionally can't give me a definitive number. So I'd rather go with a higher impact for right now. If it comes down, then it'll be a cost savings to the county, but it won't be a surprise to the county. And based off of what we have done and where we have cut, and along with the casino money, which we have allocated out to the fire and rescue, we have paid for the race program, we have paid for the college's cost, and the judicial part, which we're required to do by law. With that, moving that money and funding out, that released those fundings back in to be able to pay for these increases in the solid waste, the raises, and the other operating costs and inflation. So right now, again, this year again, y'all are balancing the books without raising taxes. Now, it's 4.1% increase. Now, the rest of the total budget is, of course, the Coal Road, Department of Social Services, the CSA programs, the canneries, which is a very important thing, the Dank and the Dank Sewer Fund. We got a total of $36,549,691. Now, that includes both federal and state and local revenue.
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
I want to go ahead and bring this out now, I guess, because I had talked to Ms. Wallace about this, and we're the only, now that we've passed this ordinance for the ATV, we're the only county in the whole area that doesn't support Spearhead financially. And I've met with the director. I think Ms. Wallace has met with them also, and she gave me some very important information as far as some funding that's been allocated. But to me, we don't have any skin in the game. I mean, as far as support, you know, they need to hire a ranger. And when I discussed this with them, that is a very important position. That's a job. So whatever this money that we could help to allocate, they're not asking us for $80,000 like the other counties offered. They're asking us for $35,000. Half of that would go for the trail maintenance. Half of it would go for the ranger. And it's very important because since I've been on this board, all I've heard is how much money that this has as an impact in our area. I know Scott's here, and we're working on getting the trails done over in the area to tie all these others together. But if we don't have any skin in the game, and also I will tell you, Spearhead gives our residents the same break on the permits as everybody else, and we're not funding them. I mean, we're not giving them any money whatsoever. And to me, it's if you don't have skin in the game, it's kind of hard for them to pony up and want to help us. I mean, that's the way I look at it, you know, as far as that. But I just want the board to take this under consideration because we have some opportunities here to get some trails opened and get them going so people will start coming here and spending their money. And you know, I think it'd be an economic boost too, because on these trail sites, there's going to be people who want to, you know, maybe put up lodging or stuff. So it's kind of like the chicken and egg deal, but if we don't put something in there to help them, we're asking them to do certain things for us and we're not in that. I mean, we're the only county in the whole area that's not putting any money into their effort. And this is a state-run facility, and Miss Wallace sent me some really good information as far as some allocations of some of the things that are good for our area. But if you're building campgrounds and you're building these facilities and you can't get your trail open because you're not supporting them, and I'm not saying that be the facts. I'm not saying they wouldn't open it because of that, but I'm just saying, to me personally, if we're not married into them, it makes a huge difference. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we ought to look at trying to come up with some appropriations. I mean, that's not an extreme lot of money compared to what other counties have put in to their area trails. And you can look at Buchanan County and what they've built and what they've done and how much money's in Tazewell County and some of these other areas that's, I mean, they're bringing in a lot of people from all other areas. And I'll give you an example of this. We was able to support the Appalachia Gateway and Horse Trail Association and let them do what they did on county property. A week and a half, 2 weeks ago, they had one of the largest horse shows they've ever had in the region. They had 4 professional football players come and show their horses in Cleveland, Virginia. And they were packed out. They had 500 entries. They had over 2,000 people. And Little Handy's Market sold out of everything. I don't reckon he had anything on the shelves or even in the store. He sold so much. And I think that not only that, but any of that stuff that we can bring into our region and our county gets people here. And it's going to be hard for any of our supervisors that want to continue forward with this and the towns to get the movement we need unless we put some money in behind them.
Lonzo, can you check and see if you can scrounge up about 35,000? We really don't know until we get the state money, and if it comes in at 6%,
Yeah.
we should be good.
And see, one of the things that being as conservative as I am, y'all know me, the casino money I have kept down until we get the final numbers, and then they post it in the paper. This is the biggest month ever, and I'm trying to keep it down. You're saying you're advertising, this. So, but what I'm saying is that'll be a number that will be more applicable to this. This is casino money. This is tourism. This would be appropriate for it. Y'all's stance over the years has been this, and we've been asked many times over the years, I'll hate to tell you the truth, to give to Spearhead Trails. And y'all were very adamant, no trails, no money. Okay. Now the trails, they're starting to develop. And they're coming. They're already being built. They're getting ready to open, and you're getting ready to start on one down in the Hoonecke area. So let me run back. We have a meeting here at the 1st of June, so I'll have the casino money and the total numbers of what we'll be receiving. So that would be appropriate fund to look at.
We can make the adjustment.
Yes.
And I will tell you this, after talking to Steve and them, and Tim, they said they would commit to hire the ranger from Russell County.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be a job, and that's a state job. So that would be a ranger, that would be a job and a position. So, you could take that into consideration. I mean, $35,000, would support the ranger's job. Well, and then half of that money would be to keep the trail up and keep it done. I mean, I don't want them building these trails and then we'd be on the back burner of maintenance because we've not appropriated any funding, because you don't want to go out the gate, open a trail, and then people start complaining about the trail because of the maintenance. I just want to have some, and I mean, Lou's Trail is ready down there in her district. It's ready to open up, but we just need a ranger in place. And that's a security thing blanket for me, to make sure that you've got that position there to be able to govern that area and be able to do that. And I mean, if you look from one end of Russell County to the other, we've talked to them about coming down through Back Valley and going down toward the falls and Lebanon and coming into Lebanon. And, I mean, it's going to be far reaching, more than I think we ever dreamed, if we can get all these easements.
And see, and just looking at both the proposed, the trails, one of the things you got to remember too is with the ranger, it also, as emergency management director, believe it or not, they get lost, they get hurt. We do have calls on the trails, and the search and rescue has to go find them, or they have to go out and help them out, because some of them gets a little aggressive on the ATVs and they end up hurt and they have to drag them out or tow them out. So if you're going to do the trails, and if you don't, after the first year, going from, building one of these and then walking, and develop one of these, after a year, your maintenance, if you don't do it, they won't come back. You'll have nothing but ruts, washouts. It's almost like a VDOT road. If you don't maintain it, you're not going to keep it. And they're not going to come back because they got, the ones in Pocahontas to ride. They've got the ones that Rebecca referred to, Yeah, I mean, they're nice. I mean, and that's where they're going to go, because these ATVs that they're riding now, as Steve had mentioned before, they cost as much as a car. I mean, you're talking some high money. And these are the ones that come into Poplar Gap. These are not just the mom and pops that are coming off their, farm on a $2,000 or $3,000 ATV. These boys are coming in with some high dollar equipment. Yes.
Well, I will tell you this, I'm really impressed with the new director. I was a little leery as a board member in the past. I told him, I said, you every 50 miles you build, we'll do a drawdown. Because I didn't feel comfortable just giving them a check to do anything. But now I do feel confident with the new director. He's in place. He managed the Capitol Police, and I feel good about trying to get this moving forward.
Okay.
And
he's willing to help.
And also, Cleveland's sitting here ready to go left or right. We can go to Dane and 4-wheel. We can go to Homeacre and 4-wheel. So, we got the River Bend campground down there. We got the waterfalls, 3.1 mile walking trail. So,
and that's a lot of people don't realize that when DCR gave their 6-year strategic plan on what is here, and I sitting there, I was looking at the map. It's almost like a VDOT map. I was looking, okay, Dane, St. Paul trails, and then if I got Homeacre, I got equestrian trails, and then if I flip to Homeacre, it's an ATV Jeep trail, and then have the river floating right through the middle. I mean, you've got a lot of things to bring people in. You've got to get them developed. I mean, we're putting in another, the people that don't know, as far as the Cleveland Park, they've upgraded it. They have got playground equipment for the kids. They're building a shelter with Nature Conservancy right now, and see properties rolling. They also are going to put in a boat launch into there too, that Nature Conservancy is paying for. So at the campground. Yes, sir.
I don't want to keep talking, but I just so passionate about this now. But I'd like to see us, when we do marketing and do signage, just like what Carl said, let's do some designation signage, along with whatever we got to do on the signs to get people to, come into certain directions or, whatever. But I think that would be a good way to do some marketing, tourism marketing, and have some additional signage or language that says, you can go here, 0.5 miles, you can be at this location, or whatever.
Another good spot for that would be out of Hansonville. People coming from Abington, from Kentucky, 58, Tazewell, they could go to all the places, Dane, Cleveland, Homeacre.
Well, and see, with some of that, if we take it under our umbrella and take some of the, the signage off of VDOT, as long as these all meet VDOT specification, 3M reflective, they have to beat all that. But the point is this, as long as our program pays for the signage and they're in compliance with VDOT, we can implement these strategically to direct them. And that's one of the things that I spoke to Buchanan County Board about. You can go over at Poplar Gap, and they got like 2 signs about that size right there. It says Poplar Gap. I mean, if you're doing 35, you miss it. I'm going, where's you missed it? Where was the turnoff? I'm serious. They put all those millions of dollars into that thing, and they bring in those peoples, and it's got a little 10-inch sign out there on the road. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And you're right, it needs to be at Hansville. It needs to be coming into the county. Get them before they get in. And we're going to market it on our tourism sites. And Shiloh, she's a whiz at this, and what assets have we got and our resources, she's going to push it, and she can crank these out to all the major agencies and the apps and the movements to say, hey, this is, the Pinnacles. This is the Equestrian Trail down at Honaker. This is the Jeep Trail in Honaker, the Equestrian Trail in Cleveland, the ATV Trail in Dane. Yes.
Well, and a lot of people, coming off the interstate on 81, as soon as they see that sign, it gives them an opportunity to say, hey, let's go check out Dane. Hey, let's go check out Cleveland. Hey, let's go check out the Pinnacle Park. Let's go towards Honaker. You get, they may go down there. Then next visit, they may come to Cleveland. Then the next visit, they may come to Honaker.
Well, it's like when you go across the Russell County line into Washington County. If you'll notice, Hidden Valley Lake, they used to have a little bitty sign down there that was about that big again. Now you go through there, it looks like a billboard. There's a reason for that. There is a reason. Then not to go up there and sit under the shade tree because it draws people in. And it's not tourism is not the only answer. It's a piece of the answer. But if you have jobs here, people it's like the casino. They come down through there and we sit on the board. They bring their children with them, and they're not die-hard people that sits down there, and there's some is die-hard sit down there and play, but once they get in, they want to go out into areas. The kids are not going to sit there and watch mom and dad play the slots. So they need things to do local. And that's one of the things that we're partnering with the casino on. When we do those videos for either the Jeep Trails, the Pinnacles, that's going to be coming on the big screens sitting at the casino. They're already partnering with us, and we're developing the videos. So if you're going to put it in place and you're advertising, they're going to come over here, and then if you get here and you ain't got it, they're going to get frustrated. So that's the little small component.
Well, thank you, Mr. Eaton, and for that great ecotourism speech. I've been waiting on that for several years. Thank you. And you did great, by the way. With that being said, our billing that we get an invoice from Spearhead, we have been getting those. Are
Yes,
they
ma'am.
just 25? Have they raised it to 30?
Right now, the ones we've received and have in through this fiscal year has been 25,000. That's what they've been billing us.
So, Mr. Eaton, can we start at 25?
They've asked us for 35. And that includes maintenance and then the rangers.
Well, I tell you what, like I said, this is going to come out of the casino. Let me see.
I'd like to do 35 just because we've not done anything.
Okay.
And and we've not had do 35.
I mean, it's $10,000.
If it's coming out of the casino, man, there's no better use for it.
Well, and no, you don't.
So those two are giving their consent contingency money. Write that down, please.
Wait a minute.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, but Steve and David. But see, David spends Steve's and Carl's and his.
We didn't do discretionary funds.
But guys, how would you like to? And I'm saying, we were talking about the city of Bristol setting a casino. The point is this: you're in a year with high inflation. You haven't raised taxes. You're given a 7% pay raise, and I'm getting ready to talk about another thing. As far as that, we worked out too on the employee health insurance. On the employee health insurance, the single employee plus one in the family, the committee dropped the premiums through all three programs, $635 a year. What that equates to is county employees pay on a 12-month time period, and that's $53 a month back in their pocket, real money. The teachers pay on a 10-month, and that is $64 a month, straight without even considering the 4%. The Board of Supervisors and the school board made the promise when this got stabilized with when it went into a $1.5 million deficit. No, Steve and Tim were both on that at committees. We made a promise to the employees that once we got it back to the 80/20s, best co-pays we could get, best out-of-pocket pharmacy, etc., we would look at dropping the premiums. And this is the first phase. So they felt comfortable with that reduction, and we'll continue to monitor it each and every year. Yes, he has. Now that's another good story. So you got from 5 to 7 built in. You got the health insurance. You've lowered it. Now here's the other thing that we've got to deal with: AT&T. And the reason I bring that up is they are saying they're closing the doors. It's already in the paper, and everyone is very much aware of it. But one of the points that we're trying to work with is work with the company. Of course, Tim contacted me last week, and he had some employees that were looking for a hotspot or a workspace. It's called CoSpace. And to be able to utilize it because they do not have internet at home. One thing that AT&T was going to do was keep their employees that work here, the facilities, but their employees will still work and perform the same jobs, but some of them did not have internet to be able to do it. They will provide the equipment, but they needed the hotspot and strong enough to be able to run their programs. So while looking through it, I reached out to Dr. Wright. So on the college side, he's going to designate one of the classrooms, which Ernie's now taking over. They're working it out. And we're going to have a space in there for up to 20 that can go as a co-working space, if it's AT&T or anything else. So yeah, you can come here. So we got a position for about 20 to 25 people in there that's got a designated place to be able to do this until they can, to work. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think that's outstanding. Co-working
Yes.
spaces are just the thing these days because so many people are working from home and they don't have a constant email or internet access. So these will have a constant IPS or whatever that
Yes, ma'am.
word is, those letters are.
Yes, and
Okay.
they're working with my IT group right now, but I want to thank Dr. Wright for offering this
ISP.
because it is his space. But this caught the Board of Supervisors and the IDA by surprise, as much as you call it a surprise when AT&T. So they'll be marketing that building for facility for other reasons. Hopefully they'll be well, but here is the point. Our county employees that are here, they'll have a place to work to be able to keep their livelihood and not have to worry about, if they live up in a route that doesn't have access, they can come here and utilize it. And it's a great facility. It's one of the rooms that's close to the cafeteria. It's got access space and it's one of the college's classrooms. So.
And thank you for working on that, and thanks to Dr. Wright for helping. That's a
Absolutely.
wonderful thing that we can do for our people.
He's been a wonderful partner.
Yeah. So with that, I think that's all I've got right now. You've got a balanced budget with a 5 to 7%. You've got 7%. You've lowered the health insurance. You've got everything taken care of. The fire and rescue has increased by 50% on each side. So any other questions? And hopefully we only have to you still have to have 2 more budget meetings, believe it or not. This public hearing, you got to have the school board will be coming talking to you at the June 1st meeting. Then that will be a public hearing that night, and then we'll have to reconvene by Code of Virginia. Katie will tell you 2 weeks later, depending upon y'all's schedule, to pass the final budget. And by then, I will have your answer on the 35. But it looks good. It looks promising. So it does look promising.
Get there, Lonzo.
Okay, so if I may interrupt, I'll take chairman's prerogative right now. While we're in discussion on this, I do want everybody to understand that there is economy in this particular talk that we're having today about tourism and dropping dollars into our coffers. And I'm going to give you one example. and I'll have to use the town of St. Paul because they kind of are they have risen to the top because they tried this so long ago, and it was a little painful at first. So I'm looking back here at my Honeacre friends and this side. This way of thinking is a little bit painful, and you will get there. But there's going to be naysayers in all departments, so you just have to deal with it as it comes, and sometimes it'll be different for your town as it was for the town of St. Paul. But let me tell you where we went. We had a coal severance tax that went to zero, about almost $250,000. All right, that went to zero. And what happened was during that time period of all these things coming together was the trails and the river riding. But the trails was the one that brought it to light because there was no food tax, there was no cigarette tax to mention, there was no lodging. But the food tax, and I'm going to tell you, their budget is wide open, so I'm going to tell you something. But anyway, this year, this quarter in the town of St. Paul, they have $92,000 in food tax. Multiply that by 4, you guys, and see what they have recouped from the loss of coal severance just in food. That does not count their lodging. Now, if you can pull that kind of money into your little towns and your little areas, that's not us. That's not being born on me. I'm not eating that much stuff down there. I might go once a month. How often do you all eat out? What I'm telling you is someone else is helping you supplement your needs in your communities. And I'm going to say something else to Carl. The state park is ripe for horse riding. That is absolutely, we've been asked multiple times about putting horses on the ATV trails, but that's not working. So you got to have 2 separate places to go. And those people come with the same amount of money, hordes of them. David's already proved that. So if he had some extracurricular activities going on over there while you've got 4 football players and so many race car drivers and everybody else over there with their horses, they might accidentally bring an old trail horse and they might want to ride and stay a couple of more days and dump some more money into your economy.
Yeah, and that was one of the things when I was doing this budget, I was very surprised at, the meal tax that we have is doing really well, and it's coming from the travelers. Believe it or not, that casino, the Route 5819 used to be between 12,000, 13,000 cars at that intersection count. It's now 15 to 16,000, pushing some days 17 at that route. It's coming. Either you're going to be ready or we're not. So,
Well, I hadn't said anything to Ms. Wallace about this, but I'll tell you just an example with that horse show. Matt Dees, which lives in Cherokee, North Carolina, that put on the show, he rented the fairgrounds down there off the Fair Association, 60 stalls. They stayed down there in Castlewood. They rented 60 stalls, and they had it all set up down there where they stayed, and then they came up to Cleveland to show. So we got the benefit having them in multiple locations, and I didn't hear anything but just everybody was so enthused and they loved this area. That's all they talked about. And I know we take it for granted a lot because we live here, but when you have those kinds of outsiders coming in and seeing the beauty of the area and the accommodations, they couldn't believe it. And Roger and his wife done a wonderful job getting them set up down there, and they stayed in Castlewood, and they come up to Cleveland, they showed, and that was just an amazing event. But I wanted to let them know that it's just not one area. This could cultivate into many, many opportunities for all of us in the county.
you could. A lot of people go down, to Pigeon Forge and Cerverville, and they ride those trails. And I'm going, first time I ever did it, I was in the military, never been there in my life until my wife took me. I said, I rode through it, and I said, well, this is like riding through Russell County. I ain't seeing nothing I'm not seeing right now. What is the difference? You just didn't know where it was at the other.
You can see more bear here than you can down
Is
there.
that what it is?
All right, move us along, Lonzo.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. Okay, on the agenda, again, those are the major budget topics that I've got. Again, we got 2 more meetings. I'm getting more final, but you're probably at 99 plus right now off of what we did, other than what the governor is proposing. So but the point is, whether he's ready or not, because that's the next point, last point. He's not going to be, I've heard June, July, or August. It's all, but we're going to pass a budget with a stipulation in the covenant. If the amendment of the salaries, we'll go back and fix. We'll have that stipulation in there. We'll implement the salary upon the governor's approval, whatever the number is. So that's all I have.
Okay, so we closed the public hearing for the budget.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Then I'm moving on. So the countywide budget workshop, what's our next times? Is that what we are?
The next workshop will be the June 5th meeting.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess it is. This is the end of May.
Yes.
Lord. All right. So moving on to number 2, the CSA supplemental allocation request.
Yes, ma'am. This is really not an additional request. This is just something that appropriation that we appropriate at the beginning. As they get towards the end of it, their money's there. So you got to make a formal move for the request for the supplemental. So of course they're asking for, and it's just a little bit, has a little bit of cushion in it because their fiscal years run from June to May. And I got the DSS director here. I need a motion for $53,196.19.
I'll make it.
And this is one of the most conservative programs. Pam does a wonderful job.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second for $53,000 and change.
Just a
Discussion.
point of discussion with this. This is for the additional children that have entered foster care that has to be taken care of. Is there?
Thank you, ma'am.
Either their education, their services for physical therapy, speech therapy, academic, or their room and board placement. So it's just for the additional children that have come into care.
Thank you for that explanation. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, moving on to number 3. I'm taking chairman's prerogative here. And over the couple of years, we've heard about trying to get to Laurel Bed Lake. And so I have been asked to help take care of this, and I'm going to do this tonight. So I would like to appoint a committee to work on a feasibility study. And Mr. Lester, I know you're a busy man, but you're at the top of the list. And the other 2 is Steve Breeding and David Eaton. Would you guys serve on that?
Yes, ma'am. Happily.
Okay. Consider it done by declaration of the committee chair here, or the chair of the board. So you all go forth and work on a feasibility study. I think it's practically done. And let's see where we can go with that. All right. Any more? We're going to start with board discussions and reminders. Mr. Lovelace.
Again, I want to thank you, Lonzo, and Dr. Wright and the IDA for working that out for the employees of AT&T and whoever else can use it.
Mr. Ray.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Eaton. Mr. Breeding.
I just want to put a flag up about the animal shelter. We're going to have to get that thing. We've met on it before. The committee has met, but I get some comments out in the field. There's some frustration because they can't see what's happening. And I know you're in the process of have either moved or getting ready to move the power pole up there.
Utility, yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so when that gets done, we need to try to sort of scoot that up. And I know at the end of the year when we reconcile your accounts, we need to see if there's some money that we can move into that category and try to get that facility started. I know we're going to do it. Let's get the foundation done, get the shell building done, and then we can kind of work on it as we go along.
Yeah, that's getting that time of the year, and I hate to say it, but the pandemic kind of, helped us out during that time in that respect.
VDAC's not going to be very much patient very much longer.
No, I will do, sir.
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Ms. Dye.
No, nothing.
Mr. Christian.
Yes, I did get on this discussion about the trail a while ago, but not only are people fascinated in getting on these trails, but to drive up and down our highways and see the contour, God's creation, mountains, valleys, and everything. And I get fascinated every time I go down New Garden Road, looking down them deep hollows. You're riding along here and up on the mountain. And so many people out of the state, they're used to this flat land. They get fascinated, the Appalachian region of all this God's creation of mountains and valleys and everything.
It
I
is
just want to
beautiful.
bring that. And this trail business will help them to get out and see even more. That's you can't see on a regular automobile highway.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you had trails in St. Paul, equestrian in Cleveland, Jeep and ATV in Honeacre, the Lower Bed Lake open, and the cleanest running through? That's a big project. That's a big. You
I'm
want that
gonna
feasibility
tell
study?
y'all something. Years and years ago, they looked at putting the dam over on the Clinch River over around Finney, over in that area somewhere. Somewhere over there. Because Kenneth Hooker was telling me about it, and Dr. Smith, who was on the Senate he was in the legislature or Senate, one or the other, I can't remember, but Roy was working on that. And Kenneth said a couple of the old farmers over there got together and sort of killed it, But there was one road that it crossed out. So I got kind of interested in it. I picked out a spot over there, and I put a dam in there and brought it up and see how far it would back water up. It backed water up all the way to Blackford Bridge up to the Little River, and it made one of the most beautiful lakes that you've ever seen. Some of that old farmland over in the New Garden area would have been lakeside property. It's just I'll bring it in and show you guys sometime. But it was just real interesting, what
Well,
could have been. And you could have probably done it at that time, but you never do it today.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is you got 330-acre lake already.
Started on that when I first got a lake.
330 acres. That's huge.
Just can't get up there.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
Chairman's prerogative. I will speak a little bit. We've talked a lot about plans for all of our communities, and I just want to say that we have Ms. Kim Smith is now the interim executive director. Our very own Kim Smith is the executive director for the Heart of Appalachia Tourism Authority. She's working really, really, really hard along with our Shiloh. And the plans for the Destination Center are coming along, and that's going to be the spoke and the wheel type thing that we're going to send people out into our region, into all the places that they need to go. So the marketing piece that we're talking about here with signage and everything is going to be generated through that big engine. She's working on a big grant right now, and that is the driving tour on Route 640 that comes all the way to Tazewell County, which is designated as the Virginia Department of Transportation Heart of Appalachia Tourism Bike Trail, but you can drive it. So she is working on a plan right now, hopefully to get money to do this. There may be some hurdles along the way, but she's prepared for those. So just so you know, that's Stewart Land and Cattle Company, which is beautiful driving, biking area in there.
And Route 80 is a biking trail designated from Washington
That's
County
right.
line on both sides. That is one of the national recognized routes as far as a biking trail.
So we got a lot going on. Thank you guys and gals for today. We appreciate it. At this time, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.